So it's Super Bowl Sunday, and there's Olympics still, and I kind of don't give a crap. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with me. The Olympics used to be my favorite thing, and of course I like football. But I don't care about football anymore because Tom Brady retired. And, well, yeah, I'm just like, whatever, you know? Whatevs. Oh, here's some batteries. I need to change the batteries in my headlamp. It was getting weak. I'm looking for the nail clip. I was going to do my nails because I don't know what I can do. I was going to paint them. Oh, now I see blue. I was going to paint them pink. Maybe I should alternate. That would be interesting. Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about, and I don't know what to talk about right now. Isn't that stupid? So, I haven't been talking, but I've been so tired. I knocked myself out during the day. You're only making matters worse, really. But, you know, there's a lot of effort that goes into my crappy life. And then by the time it's nighttime now, I haven't been able, the figure skating's been on late. I mean, there wasn't any the last couple of days, so, but there was, what do you call it? Ice dancing, which I like very much, but I don't, in my old age, what's happened to me very recently, especially after lockdowns and everything, really did a number on all of there. I mean, my willingness to give a shit about things is, I mean, I am really particular about what I'm going to spend my energy on, you know, and it's like, it's getting worse. That's why it's like, I mean, I think, honestly, what really ruined me and really separated me from who I used to be was the movies. Because, alright, when I was a kid, I liked movies and stuff like that. I'm looking for the thing to mute the, or at least put it down. Mute. I always liked movies like everybody else. Then, you know, I went to NYU. I was not a film student. I was in a College of Arts and Sciences. I was taking a lot of different languages, but I majored in Russian because I'm an idiot. And but being there and being in New York and stuff like that, now my nose is gonna start running. Being around people talking about movies all the time, and I lived in Rubin Hall. They put me in Rubin Hall, which is where the film students really live, right? So the Tisch students at the time. I don't know what it's like now. So I was around a lot of people who were going to be actors, and it was weird because just as a normal person who liked movies and stuff like that, I was like, they didn't know anything. Like, there were people, they would come into my room and I had a big poster of Marlon Brando and they didn't know who he was. And they were in the film school. And this was not now. Like, now the kids don't know anything. But back then you were supposed to know who Marlon Brando was because every person in our generation of actors, or the ones we were watching at the time, the guys who were in their 20s and stuff, they all wanted to be Marlon Brando. So, I mean, he was still alive at the time. So, yeah, and they were coming in, they wouldn't know anything about movies. It was like and it struck me, I was like, oh, they just like themselves. That's why they want to be actors. They want to be famous because they're narcissists. I didn't know what a narcissist was back then, but you know what I mean? And there was another guy who lived down the hall, and he was a really good guitarist, and he was majoring in music, right? So we would ask him, well, who's your favorite guitarist? He didn't listen to music. He didn't listen to popular music. It was like, so weird. And I think those are the people probably who, I mean, I haven't seen any of the people who were acting students in anything in all these years, and I watch a lot of movies. I really haven't, unless I've seen them in, like, for a second or something like that. But, they didn't love movies like I did. They love themselves. And I think in the world, that's kind of, the people who win are the ones who love themselves. The rest of us just kind of fall by the way. Say, hey, that's narrated by Danny Pino. Wait a minute. that I like him from Law and Order SVU. He was on. I haven't seen him in anything else. I meant to look and see what else. I think he came on one of them shows that I didn't. I wouldn't have liked anyway. I think there was like I remember looking at it and seeing what's that, and it seemed like it was like an offshoot of Sons of Anarchy, which that's not my sort of thing. But he must have been in other stuff. But that was what I remember he was going to be in. And I don't have the channels anyway. So at the point where I stopped getting regular cable, which is a long time ago now, but that's kind of where everybody started really loving those shows that come on AMC and all those cable channels. Because what I used to do for like Game of Thrones and stuff, I would have basic cable, right? Which is just the normal channels mostly. It wasn't, so no Weather Channel, no ESPN, none of that. I would just get HBO for when Game of Thrones came on. You know what I mean? And then that, once, you know, they started having on demand, and you could catch up on other things, like I could catch up on Curb or whatever. But in the very, very beginning, what I used to do is I would own, at first I had all the channels. Then as the things got more expensive and I started to do that, what I would do is I would have like I would get a lot of the cable, but still not those middle channels. I would get what I needed to get to follow the Oscar race. So I would need like the Independent Film Channel and all those channels so that I could see the Independent Spirit Awards. I would need BBC America so I could see BAFTAs, you know, stuff like that. So I would do that. But then, like I said, by the time Game of Thrones was around towards the end, I was just getting HBO, not even the other packages, but I would just do that. So, you know, because I needed it. So for, at that point, I would get it for like starting in December until March. I would get, and in that way, when I would do that, I would end up getting ESPN, so I would be able to see like the Australian Open and stuff like that. So I did that for a long time. Then as time went on, and I didn't, this doofus fake baby goat, so yeah, so I didn't have all those channels and stuff like, what the hell was I supposed to be talking about? Now I don't know. So the point is, yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. I've been watching reaction videos and stuff, and these kids are finally getting around to some of my movies. I think Mr. Video has watched all my favorite movies. I think he watched Rocky. You know, he watched The Lord of the Rings, which Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite. Rocky's my second favorite. And The Godfather is my third favorite. So, and Star Wars. Yeah, he watched that too. So it's fun to watch these kids watch stuff and everything. Sometimes it gets annoying. Like I said, I've seen more than one person think that Flash Gordon was problematic, and it's kind of like, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to alternate colors. I'm going to do the pink I was going to do in the first place. So, yeah, it's Superbowl Sunday. I couldn't care less. I don't like hip hop. The people that are on are actually people who kind of made me stop liking rap at all, because I grew up in the 80s. We all liked rap. We liked Run DMC. We liked the Beastie Boys. All that stuff. Then, when I was in high school, there were songs like CNC Music Factory, and they called that stuff hip hop. And it seemed pretty obvious to me that it was hip hop because they were literally hipping and hopping in the videos. If you remember, that Gonna Make You Sweat song, that was very hippity hoppy. Then, when I got to college, and people were talking about hip hop, they were clearly talking about rap. And I was like, huh, what? So I don't know why the term rap had to change at all. But anyway, so now what am I saying? So, I honestly had heard, like, there was when I was in college, when I lived in New York in the 90s, okay, I kind of lost the plot in terms of current music. Like, I didn't really listen to new music on the radio. I didn't watch MTV at all, because then when I lived in New York, I had no cable. Like the whole time. So I was going to the $2 movie theater. which became the $3 movie theater, and I was going to actual movies all the time, and I was not home. So, in doing so, I became more of a movie buff. I was really more about the movies then. Like I said, I started really paying attention to the Oscar race. I think it was The Usual Suspects year. I saw it, like I said, I saw an advanced screening of that. Bryan Singer was there and everything. And I love the movie. Couldn't talk about it for a month because nobody's seen it, so I couldn't say anything about Kaiser Soze. But yeah, that's how I became more of a movie about totally. I mean, the only music I was paying attention to, like, Duran Duran had the wedding album when I was in college, so I started paying attention to them again. Then that kind of dwindled off by the time John left. There was no point. So I was going to concerts. I was listening to a lot of classic rock. Like I said, the radio, I didn't put it on normal music, so the whole hip-hop thing was lost on me. Mary J. Blige, I kind of knew who she was. Right, ask me right now, gun to my head, name one of her songs, or title of her song. I don't know. I remember thinking she sang pretty good, but she always kind of went off a little bit, like, so don't really know her that well. I know her, I just don't know her. Like, I couldn't tell you her songs or sing the lyrics. Snoop Dogg I like as a person. But when that whole thing happened with Tupac and all that stuff, I was a person, I was all about the movies. I was actually hanging out, at the backstage door Letterman then. That was that era where, I didn't really have any money, so all I could buy was, I had money to do a lot of things, so I would have my camera, go to Letterman, take pictures of people going in and out, go to premieres, stuff like that. And because I remember the time we were waiting outside the hotel for somebody the day that Tupac got shot, and they were all talking about it, and I was like, I knew who he was because I had heard of him because he had been in the movie. I didn't go to that movie, the one with Janet Jackson. And I would see the posters around. Again, I wouldn't have known one of their songs to save my life. When Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg had that song, what was it, Gin and Juice, the one where they're at the party and they spill all the beer on the girl, like, because she thought she was hot shit. I didn't like that. I'm not a super feminist or anything, but I just remember the whole vibe of that video. It was slow. It seemed very California. I've been to California a couple times. Didn't like it. I would go there and everybody just seemed like there was a gas leak. Everybody was just not even calm. They were just like comatose. They just sat around all day, and it was like, the sun's out, why don't you go do something? You just sit in the house. And it was like, okay, so that video was very much like that to me, where everybody was just had such a lazy vibe. I don't like any lazy sounding songs. Duran Duran have a couple lazy songs. I love Duran Duran, hate their lazy sounding songs, but it's not a bad sounding song, but the vibe of it was negative, especially the video. And then that to me was where everything went mean. And in Undercover Brother, when Neil Patrick Harris said he liked Will Smith because he raps happy. Look, I wasn't a fan of Will Smith, but the idea is I didn't like mean rap. I didn't like it when it was all, pimps and hoes and there was nothing to dance to. Because to that point you could dance to rap. After that, and I'm not saying there was anything wrong with that song, but that to me started the time when it was like rap is now about something else. Because Beastie Boys, like I said, El Cool J, everybody, Kool Moe Dee, anybody, Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel, they were songs. They sounded like songs. Now it was just talking over music. A lot of times the music was somebody else's. When it started to be people just complaining and bitching over somebody else's music, I was like, okay, these people are making a lot of money off of music they didn't write, and they're just complaining. They're putting real negative energy out into the world. And I didn't think of energy in that way back then, but I was just like, nah. So I didn't listen to rap anymore. I did listen to grunge in the 90s. I like Pearl Jam. But then, like, once I was out of college, once I was just around New York, I was like, I would see like a poster from Xbox 20 and kind of know who that was, or what's his face? I would do the scary guy saying the Beautiful People song. You know what I mean? The scary looking guy on that poster. But I was so old at that point. I was already old in my head. You know, I had loved, you know, Frank Sinatra and that kind of music, and I'd gone to see Harry Connick Jr. and like I said, I was paying attention to Duran Duran with them coming back, and then that dwindled off. So if I was listening to music at all, it's probably a little bit of club music here and there, you know. But so I was with the new stuff. So in terms of these people, these rap people, it's like I see in my mind, in terms of rap being the kind of music that I would like, I see Dr. Dre as a villain. And I'm not saying this doesn't sound okay. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, or they don't do their job, and you know, but it's just like that whole, not Mary J. Blige, that whole other thing, it has negative space in my mind. You know, because I think that Snoop Dogg's a cool guy, but that whole thing where he came from with that stuff. I mean, people were getting murdered. You know, your singers aren't supposed to get murdered by each other. So, what, you know what I mean? It had nothing to do with that when we were kids. And that came from, I guess, you know, drugs being put into the neighborhoods and stuff like that. And that's a whole nother thing. Kill the Messenger. I told you to watch that before. So, yeah, so I don't know shit about the teams that are playing in the Super Bowl. I'm not interested in the halftime show. But it's Super Bowl Sunday. So it's like another thing that makes me feel out of step more than I was before with the rest of the world. Because it's like, I've been watching the Super Bowl for years. You know? Aaron Rodgers. Alright, look, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, they were going to burn him alive for not getting vaccinated. Right? But they also give him MVP, which should have been Tom Brady, right? It's freaking sport. I'm sorry, everything is corrupt. Now, on to corruption in the Olympics. The Russians, look. Like I said, I majored in Russian, okay? They weren't nice to me. Okay, if they were decent people, the ones I came into contact with at NYU, if they did their job, I would know Russian today. I would have had a good life. I would have had a good job. No, Zhenya, and I blame Zhenya, and I blame Irina Bilgadiedova. Alright, it occurred to me later on, I was like, what if she was like a Russian agent who was put there specifically to make sure we didn't learn Russian in case we were going to work for the government or something, you know what I mean, or the CIA or whatever. It occurred to me years later, I was like, why would NYU hire actual Russians? But Jenny was just a jerk. He couldn't teach anybody to do anything, and we got stuck with him like 2 years in a row. So I didn't learn Russian. I try on Duolingo, like I said. But anyway, so Russians, I like Russians, but I also am not like them in their approach to things. They had very hard times over the years in terms of famine and war and Nazis, and, you know, their climate don't help in certain places, so they have a hard time. A lot of us, when we were growing up, we thought of Russians as, you know, living in a great place where they all had to line up all day for one roll of toilet paper. And, you know, you have to, in that way, you have to admire people who make it through that. You know, and when they came online, I was happy about it, you know. But they're different in terms of their outlook. At least they were. So, Why we're going through more Russian doping scandals is beyond me. Why we went through the first one that got them banned and now they're the Russian Olympic Committee is beyond me. Why is that shit necessary to win in the Olympics when honestly I don't know what it's like in Russia anymore, but most people don't care about it that much anymore. I mean, I love the Olympics because I love the idea of all the countries coming together to push themselves and do well. It's not about cheating and it's not about winning for me. It's about the human community. That's why I like it. So, what's behind my head? Oh, that jamming needs to be washed. So I don't get why there's doping in sports at all. You know what I mean? I understand that there's a quest for money and stuff like that. That's not money in that case. So, you know what I mean? Like, say you're a baseball player from back in the day when, according to certain people, everybody was getting juiced. So if everybody was getting juiced, why is Roger Clemens not in Hall of Fame? You know what I mean? What is the point of all this? So if everything's corrupt and you don't allow for people to win without being corrupt, then how can you hate corruption? That's what I'm saying in terms of this girl. Again, I didn't know her before because I haven't been paying attention between Olympics to figure skating. My life for the last 4 years have been pretty shit. Okay. Like I said, I liked figure skating as a kid. I came back online in a big way, paying attention to the Olympics because of the Vancouver Games. Okay, those were great. I loved the guys that skated in there. I mean, I really got into it. After that, I would be on message boards with people who were mostly younger than me. Not by a lot, but enough that it was a difference. And I would talk about skating all the time and stuff like that. And I started to get back into it, and because that was a point in my life where I'd come home, I had no status, I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I was looking for a way back to being a human and trying to figure out, well, what was I interested in, where did I go wrong? And it was the Olympics that made me want to take Russia, because I decided I wanted to be an interpreter, because they were interviewing Victor Petrenko, all this other crap. So I was trying to figure out, because my life went off course somehow without me even trying, without me doing anything big, I was trying to figure out who I was, and then by paying attention to the Olympics and stuff like that, I was saying, okay, maybe I should have just been involved in this, because I was always interested in international things, like I said, the world community. So I tried to start learning my languages again, which I still didn't do. But it reminded me, okay, this is why I like this stuff. This is why I did this. This is why I took this in school. This is where my brain was at. And so I started paying attention. What I found out, and this was at the time, this was Johnny Weir, and, you know, I can't even remember the girls' names now. Rachel something. I want to say Rachel Flatt. Is that her name? Anyways, when I started talking to other people, kids who were more involved and learned about it and stuff like that, I was like, wow, this kind of sucks too, because when it came time for the Olympics, if you look at the person you've been watching before, you know, leading up, like if you watch them from the beginning of the season, they're much thinner at the end of the season, because they got to be as skinny as possible. Why? It's easier to fly the thinner you are, right? The less you weigh. So, and just knowing about sports and knowing about anything, I mean, I knew, when I lived in New York, one of the girls I went to school with, who I was friends with, her sister was in New York City Ballet, and I went to go, you know, eat at their house and stay over, so we went to pick up the sister, and she was really meek and everything, and really pretty, really meek, and then something came up about food or not eating, or like she hadn't had lunch or whatever. Somehow food came up. And I immediately was like, please do not tell me the girl is anorexic. And I was like, you know, nothing's more important than your health. I know ballet is great and everything, but nothing's more important. And I just said this, like, this is how I am. I met the girl 5 minutes later, I'm telling her what to do with her life, but the fact is, this is what it takes. This is what it has taken to be these people in these positions. You are required to starve yourself. You are required to abuse yourself. You are required in these kind of things, gymnastics, figures. Because I know with the, like, Nadia Comaneci era, and maybe later, they would be like, and this isn't Russia, they would be like, this is what I'm saying, all these disciplines all over the world. I know that in in the gymnastics, they didn't want you to have any fat on your body, because if you didn't have fat on your body, you wouldn't go through puberty right. So you would do better as a gymnast, probably as a figure skater, as anything like that, if you delayed your if you delayed puberty, if you delayed getting boobs, you know what I mean? Because there were, I remember one of the figure skaters, I don't know which one it was. It could have been a Russian. It was just like, well, she got boobs. Oh well, she can't skate anymore, because you know you're not as aerodynamic or whatever, or you're tippy or something. But it all matters, and you know, hips and boobs are not beneficial when you're trying to be a gymnast, when you're trying to be, you know, a figure skater. You need to be a ballet dancer. You know, they're beautiful things to watch, but the people who we're watching end up being tortured for that. And like, when they started talking about gymnasts and stuff like that, I was like, they're gonna hit figure skating. They gotta hit figure skating. I don't know that people, I mean, any sport where there's young children, or anything where there's young children, boys club, soccer, anything where people drive up, hand their kids off, and go, there's going to be predators, there's going to be molesters, there's going to be people who want to abuse children, who will gravitate towards that. Just like, you know, I'm sure people become priests not because they really believe in God, because it's like, hey, little kids, you know, anywhere where people entrust their little kids to other people, you're setting up a situation for them to be abused. So when they started talking about gymnastics, I was like, well, figure skating must have this. Figure skating must have had it, because just as somebody, like I said, who started paying attention after the Vancouver Games, I could see how these people were being treated. And I, you know what I did? I read Christine Brennan's book. She blocked me on Twitter because I referenced something in her book once to her. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, Christine Brennan writes for USA Today. She wrote a book about, I don't know if she wrote a book about all the ice skating. I forget the title of it. I know she was talking, there was one point where she was talking about Michelle Kwan. Right? We all know Michelle Kwan. She did not look abused. She did not look like she was in bad shape. Talking about how, you know, she was on a strict diet and stuff like that, and how once a week she could have half a packet of cocoa. You know what I mean? And I was like, half a packet. Like, she could make a cup of cocoa, but with only half the packet. And that's her whole week treat. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's a little kid. You know what I mean? Now, I saw Michelle Kwan. I've been watching, because of the Olympics and how shitty it was, I've been rewatching a bunch of Philippe Candeloro, and just the older skaters, and Brian Bear and Stefan Lambiel. I've been rewatching all those. I'm like, my God, figure skating was beautiful. Not that long ago, but especially back in the old days with people like Philippe. Years ago, when I was in New York, I saw Michelle when she was little at Madison Square Garden. Champions on Ice was the best show ever. And Philippe was in that show, and I took his picture and everything. And so that was like 1993, 1994, somewhere around there. And she was a little girl. So I'm sitting there reading this book, like, I don't know, 10 years on from that, or more than 10 years ago. I can't pause this. My throat's dry. Not my throat, like my lungs are dry. So, having read that, I was like, I never thought of her as being too thin. I never thought of her as looking that way. But it's funny because I was watching this Olympics, and I saw a couple of female skaters, and I was like, holy shit, they have thighs. I haven't seen thighs. I was like, I haven't seen thighs since Tanya Harding and Midori Ito. You know what I mean? Because as long as I've been watching figure skating for the last, I don't know how long, especially the women have been very thin. Like, they have thighs I never had. I mean, even when I was in the 6th grade, I was like size 5. Because I already, yeah, we used to get puberty earlier, but, so I already was the size I was going to be for many years. I was like 100 pounds and size 5. 'Cause I had a bigger butt. And, I never had thighs that looked as skinny as these, yeah, I might be dying. What the hell is this? My tooth might be falling apart. So, yeah, so it's been common knowledge to me as, sometimes uber fan, mostly a casual fan, over the years in sports, not just female sports, but it's more obvious in female sports, that in gymnastics and figure skating and ballet and anything where you see pretty demure females doing physical exertion and trying to fly, their coaches, their people are probably doing horrible shit to them over these, even if it's just, having them on totally strict diets when they're kids and they can't have any fun. Or, and remember, I'm fat because I'm fat. I'm not fat. I wasn't a fat kid. I wasn't somebody eating all kinds of stuff all the time. So don't say, oh, you're fat, that's why. I'm talking about just based on how normal people are. These people are put through physical torture in order to be what they are. And, a lot of people, like, I'm just reading, I didn't know about this Russian school. They're talking about this lady. I never heard her name before. I never heard the name Terry. But I did know in this country that the skaters were talked down to and told how to be and what haircut they couldn't have. I mean, what difference does a haircut make? Well, because the judges are going to do this and the judges are going to do that. And then maybe that's the problem. We should look at the word judges and think about judging people, and that it's more than, oh, you're good at this. The judging leaves too much room for them to be in control and demand you look like this, you do this kind of music, you sing this kind of song, you have this kind of costume, you have this kind of haircut. Oh, his jump was great, but he didn't lose enough weight, so that's going to influence me because my attitude's about how they should be. So if this guy looks like he lost weight when we told them they should, because they would somehow, and I don't know if this still happens now, but at the time when I was really paying attention, the judges would somehow communicate to the athletes what they should be doing. It'd be like if you gave somebody notes and then on what they should and shouldn't do, and then when this competition comes around, you're judging them not based on how great they do. You're judging them based on whether they listen to you or not. Do you understand what I mean? So this whole thing of figure skating, I mean, it's a judged sport, and every time they try to fix it, it makes it worse. I mean, the way figure skating is now, because of the Salt Lake scandal, which was the judging scandal, which was supposedly France and Russia, and they colluded to put the Russians ahead, which, like I said, watching that competition, and they won, I was like, yeah, okay. Even though I like the Canadians as well, I did like the Russians very much. So to me, it was splitting hairs who won gold and who won silver. But Sandra Bezic commentating was so flabbergasted and made such a stink that it changed the whole sport. I'm 100% positive. I don't know if there's tape on here. A tape. I'm old, so I say tape. I don't know if there's tape on here of the actual broadcast when the Russians won and Sandra Bezic threw her hissy fit as a commentator. But to me, she was the one. It was her outrage and everything. I was like, because at the time I was like, yeah, okay, but the Russians were good too. But she acted like it was such an outrage. And to me, that's what upended the whole sport. So it changed it for a long time. The skaters who had been doing well were now told they weren't doing things right. They had to learn how to jump all over again. All this crazy shit went on. And these kids just go through torture for the time that they're in the sport. So I'm reading about this lady, this is Terry. I never heard of them before. I didn't know. I thought the Russians always had a new girl because there was just a brand new good one who was better than the old ones and beat them at the national. I didn't know the other ones got out of the way because they couldn't stand it anymore. I didn't know they couldn't take it anymore. I remember one of them. I don't know if it was Lipnitskaya. I remember reading. Sorry, I keep coughing. It's like dry in here, not here. It's dry in here. And I remember one of them complaining about how she couldn't lose weight, how they wanted her to lose weight, and I remember I laughed because it was funny the way she said it, but it's not funny. She said, "So I don't know." She's like, "I'm not eating anything, so I'm getting fat from air, you know." And it was funny because it's like, my God, you know, if you're somebody who ever tried to lose weight, I mean, not like that. But if they're already sitting there trying to lose weight, but they're doing all these extreme measures and they're not even eating, and they're somehow gaining weight, that means there's something wrong. And I didn't know that this was a system that they had over there. There was a particular school doing this to these kids. But I wouldn't expect anybody within figure skating to, like, I saw people complaining that Johnny Weir went to that academy or something, but I'm like, yeah, but Johnny went through that shit too. You have to understand, the reason people, even if you're talking about the church, if you're talking about a lot of things, the reason a lot of people abuse continues is because the people who are now running it were formerly abused. And they're like, well, I went through it. You know, I went through it. Now I had this career. I went through it. I won these medals. I went through it. I was a world champion. I was a champion. I was a national champion. So it worked. And they're like, it's just what you have to do. Just like people who complain about other things. Well, I'm talking about people in Hollywood or how they play the game. And, you know what I mean? It's like there's all this stuff in this world that's, yes, technically corrupt. But if everything's so corrupt that it's nearly impossible to make it through without being corrupt. Like Tom Brady, we could talk about somebody like Tom Brady and say, okay, they try to get him deflated, they try to say all this stuff, but in the end, he's the greatest quarterback ever. Now what happens? Does he get MVP? No. Because somebody else is deciding, they have their opinions. You know what I mean? Sports is supposed to be technical. The reason they came up with the new system after the judging scandal for the figure skating was because they wanted to try to find a way to make it so that you couldn't cheat. There's never a way you're going to make it so that you couldn't cheat. If somebody wants to cheat, they're going to cheat. You have to make it so that people don't want to cheat. You have to make it so that people just want to win because they want to win, not because it's going to be this or that, or they're going to get whatever. So why? I mean, these women are obviously very talented. You can't just, you know what I mean? Just like in any other sport with steroids and stuff like that, you have somebody who, you're like, well, yeah, there's power and stuff like that, but not everybody can swing a bat like that, or not everybody can pitch like that, or, you know what I mean? So why they need to be enhanced when they're clearly already very good without the enhancement is something that I guess it usually comes from the handlers. I mean, I'm just thinking of CTE. I'm thinking about how back in the day, people got concussions. They sent them right back out there. They gave them painkillers and were like, go. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at football players in front of my face right now. So it's just like, there's just all this corruption in everything. And I can't hate the girl. I can hate the people who are doing it to her, but if you make it impossible to win without the corruption, or you make it excruciatingly hard to win without the corruption, and you don't care, like it's not built into your system to care about playing fair. Your system's about getting caught, not really about, the point of the Olympics is supposed to be to compete, right? But as I already complained about NBC and stuff like that, if they are marketing the Olympics as something for people to tune into, so the person that they already think is going to win can win and they could be right, just like there are those people who vote for president because they think that's the guy who's going to win and they want to go into work the next day and say, I voted for the guy who won, and they couldn't care less about who runs the country. There are those people in this world who just want to feel like they knew something ahead of time, and maybe there's more of those people in the world to me. But if you're doing that, if you're making a sport about betting or knowing who's going to win ahead of time or being right, somehow acting like you're clairvoyant or you have special powers to root for the right people, whatever. If that's the way it's being marketed on television, then the television is to blame. If people only like winners, they don't like people who play hard and do well. I mean, sure, everybody likes people who win, but there are plenty of times where the person who was number one is not somebody I like. Like I said, Nathan Chen reminds me very much of Pete Sampras. With that sort of indestructible kind of, oh, nobody can beat them because they're just so awesome. And then I didn't enjoy watching Pete Sampras play tennis. I enjoyed watching Andre Agassi. I enjoyed watching Boris Becker. I enjoyed watching Mark Philippoussis, Leighton Hewitt, Marat Safin. I enjoyed watching so many people who competed with Pete Sampras, and then he would win because he was kind of like a tennis robot. He would come out there, walk out on the court like he had his briefcase and he was going to work on Wall Street and he was miserable. And then he would play, and then he would look miserable, and he wasn't any fun, and he had no personality, but he won. And there are people who want to root for the guy who's going to win, and I get that. But in terms of watching him play, it was a very boring, annoying time to be a tennis fan because, generally speaking, I was rooting for everybody else. Not because I was rooting against them, just they were more fun. Pat Rafter was a favorite of mine at the time, you know what I mean? Their styles of playing, they had, he used to have that kick serve, it looked cool. He had his, ponytail. There were cool things. There were reasons, like back in the day, you watched John McEnroe, he threw his fits, and Jimmy Connors was a crazy person, and you know what I mean? There was all, then you had like the Stefan Edbergs, who were like super quiet, and what's his name? Bjorn Borg, and there were all these personalities to watch. And when it just becomes about, okay, who scored the most points? So, you know what I mean? That's not really why you want to see that cool throw. You want to see that cool catch. You know what I mean? You don't want to just see, for that, you could just look at the score at the end. What do you need to watch the game for if you just care about who wins? What do you need to watch the Olympics for if you just want to know what the gold medal count is? You know what I mean? If it's all about the numbers to you, well, then just look it up the next day. You don't need to watch it. You should be watching it for the drama. You should be watching it for the fun. You should be watching it for the entertainment, That's what I'm saying. I'm watching, like, Philippe and all these older guys who really, their skates were performances. And you see it now. There's a real mix when you watch the figure skating now, because the ice dance was on. And there were some people whose program was going very much to the music. And it would look like something, I'm watching a performance. Then 2 seconds later, you're watching somebody else, and you're like, their movements, although they're very well synchronized together, don't have anything to do with the beat of this song. Then there was the team, I forgot which country they're from, I keep forgetting, because all I can think of these outrageously orange outfits. And I really thought they were going to samba or mamba or some kind of, Latin dance. And there was Elton John music, and I'm like, how does that have anything to do with it? But that's what they were doing. And so you watch these things, and you're like, the thought is put into the math. The thought is put into accumulating points so somebody can win, and it doesn't ruin the sport, because there are enough people who are still there, like Shoma Uno and people like that, who really, they're out there doing art, and then there are people racking up points. So if you watch it over and over, and the guy, and Jason Brown, and these people who are real artists out there, and of course Yuzu, and that new kid Donovan, I mean, there's people to like. You know they're never going to win, though. So when you tune in to always know these people can't win because the way the sport is done, it's corrupt. The way they count makes no sense. It's all about math instead of artistry. And looking back and having watched these older videos, it's like, Jesus, it's so different. Not just, people are doing quads and stuff like that. To a casual fan who's not a figure skater, who's not sitting there worried about how difficult it is, to watch it, is it really, can you really tell, do you really get more enjoyment out of seeing nobody can do the quad axel, right? But Yuzu was trying it. Do you really get more enjoyment out of seeing a quad axel than a triple axel? Like a triple flip or what am I saying? A quad toe or a triple toe. Once they're up and spinning fast, I can't count. That's for the people who really sitting there and they wanted to see the judges. And they know they're going for that's. I can't tell the difference. I know that one's going way faster than the other. Once it's beyond a double, I really can't tell. They jump in the air and they do a trick and they land. Now I want to see the other stuff. I want to see the showmanship. I want to see, the musicality. I want to see the personality. Do a performance for me. I think maybe Javier Fernandez was the last performer who was going to win gold medals and stuff like that. So, I mean, real showman. Not that these other guys aren't showmen, but, So I see this girl and I'm like, well, she shouldn't be able to compete if she's enhanced because that drug, whatever the hell it's called, is some kind of heart medicine and it's supposed to allow you to go for longer. And they were trying to say it wasn't a performance enhancing drug in the beginning. I'm like, how is that not performance enhancing if you can last longer because you're taking a pill? And if she stopped taking it before, I remember they tried to put me on heart pills and I didn't want anything to do with it. When you stop taking pills, it takes a while for it to go away completely. Okay, those other shots that I didn't want, it takes a while for it to wear off. So they could have timed it just right that she would still have some benefit, or getting to that point would have made her get to, you know what I mean? But you can't, that's an enhancement. It's an enhancement, and you can't have that happen. And 15-year-olds aren't 12-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 5-year-olds. And it was like, she's a child. I don't like calling 15-year-olds children. I understand she probably had little say in the matter. What the hell just happened to my... Oh, right. She probably had very little say in the matter because, she is underage and she is being told what to do by these people. And if she didn't do it, she wouldn't be where she is, and I get that. But, she'll live because it's not being taken away from her family. She is getting, She can't compete if she's enhanced, and if they allow her to complete, that's it. And I'm not saying that, I'm an American. Like I said, I root for everybody from all kinds of countries. If they've been doing this to these children and everybody's known about it, well, why hasn't, if they're children, you know what I mean? These girls are all retiring. Like, I didn't know that the skaters were retiring. Like I said, I thought 4 years on they were being beat by the newer, younger kids because they're newer and younger. They weigh less, they're springier. So I thought they were just being, aged out. I didn't think that they were purposely quitting because they had all kinds of medical issues from whatever abuse they're going through over there. If that's been going on, where has the ISU been? International Skating Union. Okay, where, you know what I mean? All the whistleblowers that have to come out with this, that, and the other thing. Like I said, we went through it with gymnastics. I figure skating was going to be the next to fall. But not because of them being molested. I don't know if, like I said, we already had the one situation where the guy ended up killing himself because he was accused. I mean, I think that would fall more under inappropriate relationships or underage type stuff, not actually molesting somebody. You know what I mean? There's a spectrum that we can't talk about, and everything is under one blanket, but I'm talking about a systematic situation where kids are abused in that manner. I don't know that goes on, but like I said, all these sports, all these things where you have young people and they're very thin and they need to fly or they need to jump, they are starved to death at some point, usually once a year, right around the time of competition. They're not allowed to eat very much food. They're saying that these girls in this academy aren't even allowed to drink water. Fact is, they did that to Henry Cavill on The Witcher. He talked about it when the first season, when he was on, when he was doing the press for the first season of The Witcher. He came on the Graham Norton show and he talked about how, so that his tits would look appropriate, because he's got puffier boobies, if you've noticed in the past, what they do is they had him not drink water for like 3 days. And we're all like, I'm watching it, and Graham Norton's like, what? Because she's like, don't you die if you don't have water? It wasn't 3 days, it was a certain amount of time. It wasn't 3 entire days, but it was like, in order for him to look as good as possible, he had to not drink water before they filmed, like, I guess, the shirtless scene or whatever. And it's like, yeah, we were all going to go on strike if Henry Cavill looks slightly puffy. This is ridiculous. A grown-ass man who's like 35 or whatever the hell he is. Every time he sneezes, he trends on Twitter. And they've got him not on some kind of fitness. He can't drink water for like days before he films a certain scene. I'd heard before, like when they did like when they would do other movies, like they would have the guys, like if they're doing a shirtless scene, they would literally be doing like push-ups and stuff in between takes, so their chest could be, perfectly perfect for the scene. I mean, kind of ridiculous. But this is what they do, and we've heard tell that maybe some of our action stars actually take steroids. And I know that one of our action stars, who is pretty much, I've complained about this person being a drug dealer in my eyes, and everybody can disagree with me. This person got a boob job, early in their career. And I'm talking about a man, because his boobs weren't that great. So he got implants to be the action star. I've been talking for 51 minutes. Holy shit. I was worried about it. I was like, oh, it must be like half an hour. Oh my God. Anyway, the point is, if you are a results-based person, if you don't just enjoy somebody, if you don't enjoy the ebbs and flows of their career, if you don't root for them no matter what, if you're not a fan where you say, okay, well, they didn't do this, we're going to love them next year, oh man, them's the breaks, well, we'll see. If you want results, if you're going to sit there and be the kind of people who they watch football and they blame somebody for the team losing, and it's like, they say they cost the team this, they didn't cost anybody anything. And I do believe a lot of this has to do with sports betting, because people now, they're not just fans rooting for somebody because it warms their hearts, so they love to watch the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. They get something out of it monetarily. And of course, I've said money is the root of all evil, but also we have a situation where people think that their star athlete owes them a championship, owes them a win, will cost them a win. No, that's not how it goes. I can't believe I just talked for that long, because I kind of started when this show started. I just wasted an hour of my life. And nobody's listening to this whole thing, I hope. Oh my goodness. But I do think I had something to say, in case anybody doesn't know that, it's been going on. It's been in all these sports. It wraps around to all these other things. People listen to podcasts. I don't know how they do that. And that's what if anybody watches my videos, that's what I was saying. I can't imagine people are looking at me, because that's frightening. But I tried years ago. I tried doing a different channel where I was just black title cards, and I would just talk. And absolutely nobody watched those. So no matter how bad looking you are, how fat your face is, people want to see a human being, I guess. And that's why, I do this way. But there are a lot of people who get paid a lot of money for their commentary, and they do 3-4 hours of talking about something. And sometimes I'm like, well, they're dumber than me. You know what I mean? Pundits, and whether it's about movies or music or sports or news, I'm like, hey, they don't know what they're talking about. I know better than that. And sometimes I get things wrong, but I'm going by my experience. I'm going by my memories. Sometimes I misremember things, and if I'm wrong, I try to say I'm wrong about things. I don't want to be, I'm not trying to pontificate, I'm just trying to say my piece. I'm trying to be a witness. Can I get a witness? I'm trying to be a witness for the things that maybe are behind the scenes that other people just didn't know because they weren't there, or don't remember because they're not old or whatever. But I have some accumulated information that if you want to go and find out if it's true, you can find it out. I'm not making stuff up to get clicks or anything like that. This is my experience as a person on Earth, walking the earth like Kane and Kung Fu, just watching things as it happens and remembering, hey, that's not how that was. Hey, that was just like this and that was like that, and trying to put things together and see that, there are common threads in this world and this corrupt thing. That's what I'm saying. You can't hate the corruption if you're a corrupt person. You can't hate things the way they are if you judge somebody by their resume and their achievements and, their history, their filmography, whatever. If you're going to judge people by how much they've accomplished in life and all you care is about the results, you don't care how they got there. You don't say, well, gee, did they take steroids? Well, gee, did they sleep with their boss? Well, gee, did they steal somebody else's idea? Well, gee, you know what I mean? If you just will look at somebody's accomplishments and go, wow, they're amazing. They're my idol. I know nothing else about them. I don't know their personality. I don't know anything about them. Just look at these accomplishments. Wow, I want to be like them. Or wow, I think they're a great person. And you judge people and value people based on a list of accomplishments and results. And you don't care about the blood, sweat, and tears, and you don't care about are they a good person or not. You don't care about if you like them or not. You just look at the numbers, you look at the stats, and you say, wow, what a wonderful human being. Then you're the person who this happens for. You're the person who the world is corrupt for. Because you don't care what it costs to get those results. You just want to see the results. So if you're a results-based person, you're the actual problem. All these people trying to meet expectations, all these people trying to do inhuman things and therefore taking drugs or doing things that you just shouldn't do in order to get a certain status, in order to get to a certain place in your sport or your career or, whatever trade you or whatever your industry you're in. If you just want to know who's at the top and applaud the people at the top because you think it's awesome to be on top, and you don't care about integrity and honesty and stuff like that, you're the problem. You know what I mean? So this girl, yeah, I feel bad for her. I forgot her name. Kamila Valieva, is it? I feel bad that she's in a system. That system is in sport that is not nice to its athletes. It's not the worst sport, but most of these sports treat these people like cattle. They treat them like beasts. They treat them like things that are to be manipulated for a point in time, and then whatever happens to them when their career is over, if they can't walk anymore, if they have CTE, if they need hip replacement at 25, this is the cost. This is what you pay the piper in order to have these illustrious careers and stuff like that. For a moment in time, like Tom Brady retired. And then he goes and puts out a thing. I'm like, what, he's going to be Gwyneth Paltrow now? He's quitting football to be Gwyneth Paltrow? Because you only have a certain time on earth to be an athlete, and he has stretched it to the max, and it's been amazing. And I think he still had a couple more years in him if he wanted to do it. But instead, like a week later or a couple days later, he's like, Brady brand fucking fitness clothes. I'm like, it's next thing you know, vagina candles that aren't smelling like vaginas. Don't ask me what they're going to smell like. But yeah, it's like people who are brands, people who are all this stuff where people start, like the accomplishments Tom Brady's done as a football player are great. I don't want to watch him sell clothes. And I never once looked at any of the crap that Gwyneth Paltrow sells. Not just because I don't have the money for it. If I win the Powerball tomorrow, I would not be buying her shit. Because it's obnoxious. And it has nothing to do with anything. There's people all over this earth who make products on the cheap. And you can use those, and you don't need, you know what I mean? So if we have heroes, if we have people we admire, we have people we like to watch on TV, we like to watch them in the movies. I don't want to drink their tequila. I don't want to, smell like their perfume. I'm old enough to remember when I was a kid and I did buy poison, the Elizabeth Taylor perfume because I was a kid and I wanted a first perfume. After that, I bought Catalyst, which somehow went out of business. But yeah, Elizabeth Taylor had perfume. She was the first person to have perfume that was a famous person selling perfume. Otherwise, it was for fashion designers and people like that. And like I said, that's after she wasn't on Dynasty. Joan Collins was on Dynasty, but it's after Dynasty, and it's after that time where people started chasing money instead of just being, you know, artists or whatever. She's a good actress. I wasn't her biggest fan. My mom thought she was the greatest. You know, I mean, I'm complaining about stuff that happened in the late 80s, and I do believe it started then and it steamrolled to now where everything's about money, and now we're just, it's, the money isn't even real anymore. Like I said, if Jeff Bezos is, not Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg is losing $35 billion because of something, well, where did it go? Did it go to somebody else? If that money didn't all go to somebody else, it never existed. If it's just stock prices and little blips in a computer, that money wasn't real. If that money didn't go to somebody else, it's not real money. Because like I said, 10 years ago, there weren't that many billionaires and they didn't have that much money, so a bunch of new money didn't grow on. There aren't actual money trees. If that money didn't come from somewhere, it's not real money. So everything that people are chasing is not real. It's a dream. Yeah, you need money to pay bills and stuff like that, but the wealth, the obscene wealth that people are chasing, that some people supposedly have, it's not real. At this point, our banking system got to be complete and total crap, because it's just how is there all this money flying around? There's not actual green stuff or gold stuff. I really don't think there's actual physical money that accounts for all this, and that's why I'm saying it's make-believe. Yeah, you and I have to show up with fake money. We want to buy something in the store, we want to buy deodorant, we want to buy toilet paper, we have to show up with actual money, okay? But I'm talking about these people who, they're zapping funds here and there between this account and that account, and it's saying how much they're worth, and based on how much they're worth, they're making this other deal over here, and, you know, that shit's all fake. There's no way. There's no way, because there's not that much. I really don't believe, and somebody could tell me I'm wrong, I really don't believe there's actually somewhere in this world all that, like if some magician had a wand and said, okay, I want to get all the actual money in the world and, you know, put it on this island, right, it would not balance out to how much money is supposed to exist. So there's not the actual physical money. That's why all this Bitcoin thing, it's kind of the same thing. It's all bullshit. They've turned real money into Bitcoin. Do you understand what I mean? People so willing to do make-believe. I've just gone on a complete different tangent. What am I talking about? The point is, the world is corrupt. Everything's a lie. If you only care about results, if you only care about the brass tacks, if you only care about, you know, the end result, who's got enough money in the bank account, who's got the most championships in the end, who won with the most toys, then don't complain when things are corrupt. Don't complain when somebody, you know, somebody's grand slam, somebody's home run record was enhanced by steroids. Don't complain when 15-year-olds are being given heart medication and probably ruining their health because they wanted them to win. Because if you value people based on their achievements and their long list of achievements and stuff, and that's what you think is the worth of a person, or you think money is the worth of a person, then you're at fault. People like you are the ones driving the bus off a cliff. I don't think she should compete. I think that all the sports abuse their talent. I think everything abuses its talent to make a lot of money or to get awards that somehow translate into money. So don't hate this girl. don't hate the game, hate yourself for wanting there to be a game, instead of just honest integrity and tolerating that there is a game. Because in the end, if you didn't tolerate the game, if you didn't want to see the results, if you didn't think people should win by any means necessary, then they wouldn't win by any means necessary. They'd win honestly and truthfully, and you would be rooting for the good guy. And you probably don't. You probably root for somebody like this guy I'm looking at right now, Dr. Dre, who I don't think is a good guy. But that's just me. It's my opinion. Mary J. Blige seems like a very honest person who just had talent and was dragged along. That's my opinion. Anyways, I thought I was going to talk for like 5 minutes, and I didn't have any idea what I was going to talk about. And this is how it ends up. I am so sorry.